Good afternoon, happy stampers. This is Judy Anderson from judystamps.com, where every stamp tells a story and every project brings joy. Welcome today. I'd like to say hello to my live viewers as well as those of you watching on replay. Today we are going to be using a new bundle from the online exclusives called Perfectly Pears. You'll recall last week I used a couple of the dies from the set, but I wanted to bring you a card this week using the stamp set and the dies. And my color combination today, quite interesting. If you're part of my newsletter, you know that we've been working on our house. We had some work done. And the last day that our trim carpenter came, he brought his 4 children, 14, a 3rd grader, a 2nd grader, and a 3-year-old. And I got some little cards for the 3-year-old, but the 2 girls, we were talking and they told me that they loved art. So I went and grabbed some of my paper pumpkin kits and they played and played and played. And then I brought them some more ink pads to play with. And one of the little girls came up with this color combination. And I thought, oh, you know what? I really like that. She's got my purple and my orange, which I like, and she's got my yellow, my favorite color. So I am going to be using the Perfectly Pears stamp set, and it's a set of 14 stamps that have images and sentiments in them, and then they have coordinating dies and some extra dies in there also that don't cut out what's in the stamps. And as you can see, quite a few of my dies aren't in here right now because I'm actually preparing for a class that I'm bringing out next week using this bundle. And be on the lookout in my newsletter to find out how you can get the class when you purchase the bundle next month. So we're also using our in color pearlized dots, some white cardstock, some Highland Heather, some Daffodil Delight, and Calypso Coral. So that's our color combination for today. I did grab the Stampin' Write markers because I have an idea. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not, but we'll see as we play along here. So we're going to grab first our 3 colors of cardstock, our basic white cardstock. I'm going to put all these dies to the side and we are going to begin stamping and then we're going to cut. So first we're going to stamp a pear and this is the order that I'm going to do, I believe. the order of my pears. Now, I was drawn to putting the yellow in the middle to separate these two because it's the lightest color of these two, but I decided that I wanted the yellow on the side, so we're going to use our Calypso Coral in the center. And this stamp set is a 2-step stamp. It's a set of outline stamps and then images that'll color the inside also for you. So we're just going to ink up this outline stamp, put it right here. Oh, I'm going to have to grab another piece of basic white, I see. Okay, stamp it. I'm going to clean off my stamp. Then we're going to stamp the inside. And I want to test this first. So I'm actually going to test it on a piece of scrap paper here. I just want to see how strong this is going to stamp. And it's pretty dark, but if I stamp it off, it's a little bit lighter. I'm going to grab my silicone mat or my piercing mat and put it underneath it to stamp because these are photopolymer stamps. I'm going to test that again. Like, this is quite dark. I did just re-ink a bunch of my stamps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this ink because you can see where I put some re-inker in it. All I'm going to do is grab one of my blocks, acrylic blocks. And I'm just going to push this ink to the side. I'm going to do this a couple times. Wipe off the block a little bit. You need to be careful when you do this so that you do not rip your foam mat. Okay, so I'm just pushing that ink. I'll have ink here. I'm going to go ahead and clean that off. And let's try stamping this again, full strength, with some of that ink removed from our block. Okay, as you can see, it's kind of in between those two, so it's where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and ink this up again. It's a little trick. If your ink color is a little bit stronger than you want. So there's our Calypso Coral. Like I said, I am going to have to get another piece of scrap paper here. So I've got this one. I'm also going to stamp the leaves in the same color, but I want this darker. So I'm going to go where I pushed all that ink. So this will be a little bit darker. Stamp that right there. You may be thinking that's a little odd to have a same color leaves as the pear, but we're doing okay here. Now I want to choose my words, and my words are going to be thanks. I need to actually get them out of one of my bins here. Sorry. It's going to be a thank you, and I do want to cut it out with the die that coordinates. And since my Highland Heather is on the right, and I believe I'm going to be putting this on the right, I'm going to do this. Oops, not in Calypso Coral. I'm going to switch the two. I'm going to put Highland Heather on the left because I want my words in the Highland Heather. They're a darker color and it'll stand out. You could also do this in basic black if you wanted. Ooh, I got a little bit blotchy. Do it again. There we go. Okay, so now we're all ready for die cutting. So we're going to do our die cutting next, and then we're going to do some more stamping. So I have my dies here. I have my papers. And I'm going to grab my mini cut and emboss machine. Put it up here. And we've got our number 1 plate and 2 acrylic plates. And remember, you need to stair step these so they're not lined up perfectly. And I'm going to see if I can cut out more than one image at a time on here. I'm going to get my leaf on here. And here's my die. Set it right like that. Doesn't look like it's going to move. My thank you. I want to center that on that die. Okay, so I take my acrylic plate, I tuck it in and push it down. And your dies should not move. Just start pushing it in a little bit. Once the machine grabs it, you just pull right through. Okay, so we've got those cut. I'm going to set that to the side, bring back my plate. And we're going to try to do a couple of these at the same time also. We'll get these to fit on here. So we're going to cut from each one. I'm going to do one color at a time. I'm going to cut out these flowers. Not sure quite how I am going to use these yet, but I thought, you know what? I need a little bit of the cardstock on there for some added interest. And these flowers are just too dang cute. I wanted to use them last week, but we ended up not using them because I didn't need them on the card. Okay, so we're going to cut each of these from each of the colors. So there's our Highland Heather. I just dropped that down and see how that fell out there. Okay, these are here. Pick up our next color, Daffodil Delight. Get our dies. Place those on there once again, smush it down, push it in, and just wheel it through. Now this should go through fairly simple for you. I'm going to put it back this way. Okay, fill this out. One of the Highland Heather ones stuck in there. That's okay. Pop this, pop it out, just drop it on my glass mat. It's a fun little trick, makes it easier. So we have our Daffodil Delight and our Highland Heather here. I'll do my pear next. And then we'll do the Calypso Coral. Put it on here. Push that down. And through just like butter. Okay. Our pear popped out really easy. I'm going to put that to the side. Okay, grab my Calypso Coral paper cardstock here. Yeah, sometimes that's easier said than done, right? How many of you lose things while you're stamping? You know, you have it right here. But yet it wants to disappear on you. We've got our strip. I just had my die. Put my leaf die away, grab this flower, and see how it just fits on this scrap? So some of you have asked me, Judy, how do you keep your scraps? I keep them in hanging files that I got off of Amazon, and I keep them by color. So I can just go in, take a look, and I always check my scraps first. I just go in. Oops, that one didn't want to. Oops, there it went flying. I can just go to my scrap bin first and grab pieces of cardstock from there. Sometimes I have quarter sheets. Sometimes I have a half a sheet, which is a card base. So I always go there before I start cutting my full pieces. Okay, so we have those cut. And they're going to be in this order here. So let's get our mat. So it's just a basic white mat. I'm mounting it, a basic white onto the white card base. And we're going to begin stamping. So we've already done our Calypso Coral, so we don't need that. We're going to do our Highland Heather first. And it really doesn't matter which you do first, the outline or the insert. And I'm going to put these kind of close together. So I'm going to have a bunch of pears here. And so I am going to raise this one up just a little bit and bring it in. Oh, I'm looking at my mat, my glass mat here, my grid. So I'm going to go in, 3/4 of an inch about. So I'm just eyeballing this. I'm going to go in 3/4 of an inch, stamp that one. I'm going to clean it off. I'm going to go ahead and do my Daffodil Delight first. Now, you know, I've taught you guys, do your lighter color first and go to your deeper color. I'm kind of breaking the rule right now. Okay, now I'm going to line this up to this here and go in 3/4 of an inch, which is 3 lines, and just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exactly the same here. If you wanted it to be exactly the same, I could align this up to the top. So we're going to go in about 3/4 of an inch right there. Okay, and as you can see, the Daffodil Delight is a lighter color. So now we're going to take our inside, and I'm going to ink it up. And I am going to test it once again. So I need to bring my piercing mat back in and my scrap paper. And I'm just going to test this to see how deep it is. Now, the Daffodil Delight, I'm imagining will have to be a little bit deeper. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that straight on. And when I do this, I tap, tap, tap lightly. And I'm going to bring this and just line it up with the outline and stamp straight down. And as you can see, it's doing the shading all itself. Look at that, it shaded it. It's off a little bit, but that gives it a little bit of a 3D effect. Now I'm going to go into my darker color, which is my Highland Heather. And we are going to stamp that. And once again, we're going to test it. So I'm going to ink it up, tap, 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 and test it. And that is quite dark. Second generation isn't quite dark enough. So I need to move my ink again. So I'm going to take my block and just push the ink to one side. I'm going to do it a couple times because this was quite dark. Just moving the ink gently. So that's why I'm doing it more than once. Then I kind of wipe off that excess ink. Clean off my block. And let's try this again. And let's look at the difference. That's what we want. We don't want that blotchy look there. We want this lighter look. So we're going to take this over to our card. And I need to clean that off. Hang on. Okay. And we're going to go down. And like I said, you could do the inside first or the outside. It's totally up to you. So there we go. And I just noticed I put those up so far. I may not have room for my leaves, but I'm hoping. So I'm going to take the Daffodil Delight in my leaf. And it's okay if it goes off the page. There we go. We're going to do that one there. Clean that off. Ink up the Highland Heather. This one's going to go this way. Just like that. Okay, now before we go any further, this is where I'm going to take my markers. My Stampin' Write markers in the same color. So we're not guesstimating at all. I am going to take my ruler and grab it out here. And we're going to draw lines around the outside of our card. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up with the little lines here, the measuring line, so I know I can get straight. So I'm just going to line all those little 16ths up. And we are going to begin with our, let's begin with our Daffodil Delight. So I'm not going to go all the way up to the edge. I'm just going to draw a line. I'm going to go around all four sides and do this. Line that up again from the same distance. Good guesstimating there. Now, when I get to my images, I'm going to lift my pen. So lift it up, go around, and lift it up. Now we're going to go around this 3 times with all 3 colors. Do this again. This is just going to add a little bit of interest around the border of our images and help ground this piece of cardstock. So we've got that. Then we are going to do our Calypso Coral. And once again, I need to grab a baby wipe. And I want to clean the edge of my ruler because I don't want to pick up that previous color. So we're just going to wipe that off. Once again, I'm going to line up my distance here. And just draw the lines. And this is a fun way to add color and interest to your cards without having to use a lot of cardstock. And it's a clean look. A clean and simple card. Now, once again, we're not going to go over those images that are stamped on there. So we're just going up to the leaves and in between the leaf and the stem, like that. So it's going to make those pears and leaves seem like they're popping out of the card without having to lift them. Okay, once again, close that up. Now, I do love our Stampin' Write markers. Stampin' Up! Has taken the guesswork out for all of us, and because they have a brush tip on this side that you can use for lettering, and then they have this bullet point here for finer lines and finer writing or whatever else, if you do lettering at all. Now here we're running into that leaf, so we have to lift our pen up just like that, and we're going to go around another time and see how those pears and those leaves are just popping out of that card here. Just a simple little trick to do. Okay, and our Stampin' Write markers are water-based. We use them on our stamps also for omitting, for coloring. Oops, I went up a little bit high. Gotta watch here and here. So we got into our images a little bit farther with each color. Okay, see how that changed that look? Look at that. And those pears are just popping off that page. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to finish assembling this portion before we put it onto our card. So I'm going to grab my Calypso Coral pear and my burrs here. And we're going to pop this out, and this is going to be a little bit lower, and we're going to pop it up with Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm just going to put 3 of those on here, making sure that it stays popped up. I've got the spatula end. I might take your pick tool. I'm going to flip that around to the pick end so I can get those dimensional covers off, those little chads off. A lot easier. Okay, we're going to place this, and we could even place it down into this, since that's going up into the border. I want to bring this down into the border too. So I'm just going to line that up right there between the Highland Heather and the Calypso Coral, just centering that. Now, we also want to adhere this with dimensionals, but we're going to need to use our minis on this part. How many of you, let me know, how many of you like to make clean and simple cards? I find that sometimes clean and simple is harder than all the layering, because you have to think about your design a little bit, where your eye's going to move to. And I don't know, I just feel that clean and simple, I can't add, well, I could add something if I happen to get ink on here. There's no such thing as not taking care of your opportunity. Now, I just put a little dab of glue right there, and see where this little like dark mark is? That's where your leaf gets attached to, that little dimple. Okay, so that is there so far. Sorry, I just dropped my sentiment. Now, my sentiment, I'm going to have go onto the pear and over here. So I need a Stampin' Dimensional on this side only, because we need to bring it up to the height of that pear. So I'm just going to do this. And then on the other side, just a little dab of glue, put the dot and spread it out a little bit. and put this down here. We could have put this on either side. I'm choosing to put it on this side, opposite my Highland Heather. So I'm bringing that color here also. Okay, now we have these flowers. What are we going to do with these things? You know, I don't know. I'm thinking of adding them here. Let me poke out these little chads that didn't come out. Whoops. So I'm going to place them first. I just thought these flowers are so cute. I have to use them. These we're just going to go ahead and put perhaps right there. And then our Highland Heather, we can put here. Or do we want to scatter just a few of these? No, I like the bunches. What about you? Do you like the grouping or do you like the single flowers? What would you use? Let me know. And while you're at it, let me know what color combination you think you would use. I'm going to put these all on the same side. So I'm going to have this tucking from behind that Calypso Coral. And once again, I'm just putting a dot and spreading it around. That way you don't get too much glue on there. This one I'm going to bring down around the words, and part of it is probably going to stick up there. And let's get our Daffodil Delight. How many of you would have thought of this color combination? It kind of reminds me of an Andy Warhol type look. If you remember, quite a few years ago, I did a card. I can't even remember what it was, but I did an Andy Warhol type look with the bold images and just color. So we have that so far. You know what? I do want to draw the eye up here. So I'm going to put one or two on the opposite side. Probably two. Let's get one with the middle poked out. So as I was saying, I am going to have a class next month featuring, put this one up here, featuring this bundle. So don't rush out and buy it yet, because you'll love what you get when you buy it in August. Okay, I'm going to have this go beyond the pear a little bit here. So it goes into the Highland Heather. So, oh, you would never have thought of putting these flowers on here. Yeah, you know, I kind of get an idea in my head and then I go with it. And sometimes it works out, as you guys have seen before, and sometimes it doesn't. But you know what? How are you going to know if you don't try, right? So don't be afraid to try. It's only ink and paper, you guys. And quite often I'm surprised by some of my outcomes. I'm going to put this one back here. With things that I would never normally think of, but have tried it, and then it was like, oh my gosh, I really like that. So I think that these flowers are just giving this a little bit of texture here. Oh, we're going to stick that one right back there. So it's peeking out a little bit. I have those dots, and I don't know if those dots are going to be too much, or we just may put it down here by the thank you. Okay, let's grab our card base. Move all this out of the way. We grab our card base and our bone folder. We're going to go ahead and fold this with the mountain in the middle on that score line. Get it there. Take our bone folder, burnish that score line. Really good. Now, I'm going to pop this up. I want this raised off of that base. We could put it flat down and it would look fine. And you could choose to do that, but I'm going to do just something a little bit different. So I'm going to grab some of my ends here, and then make sure if you pop up a layer like this that you are putting enough dimensionals on your card so that it pops up. There's nothing worse than getting your dimensionals on there and then discovering that you're not getting the look that you want because you didn't use enough dimensional. Dimensionals are very inexpensive, but you know what? They just add that wow to your card. That and it's so simple to do, to add that, but you do need to be cautious when you're mailing cards that you don't make them too thick. Sometimes I'll pop them up on 2 dimensionals, too thick, double them up, stack them on top of one another. Okay, we've got this here. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Just a clean and simple card. Okay. And look at those colors. You would probably never have thought of using those colors like that, but it works. Now, I am going to add our thing here. Now, this is Timid Tiger, but I think it goes with and coordinates with our Calypso Coral. So I'm just going to put one of those right here. Just like that. And I think that is just enough for a clean and simple card. You move this all out of the way. And here we go. Here's our card for today. Clean and simple. Pears. Who knew pears could be so much fun to play with? I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And until we meet again, everybody, happy stamping.